Thank you, Prophet of God. Thank you. I don't, how I'm going to follow all that, I'm not quite sure. It reaches to me. Oh my, can my. I'm a worshiper extraordinary, always, all the time, whenever, however. That's who I am. That's what I do, and I am very grateful for that. I don't know if I call it a gift or a calling or whatever it is God has done in me to be thankful for every single thing in my life, no matter what it is, bad or good or indifferent. And Prophet of God, thank you for showing up and telling us that we could be authentically ourselves. I tried to be like Judy. Yes, I did. I tried to. I tried to sing like, I don't know who, folks, other folks. I wasn't always successful at it, but I realized the gift that God gave me is in the sound that comes from the depths of my soul, whether it's talking or whether it's singing. I've come to realize that I'm a waterer, Pastor Ron. I am a waterer. I am that person that comes and waters the seed that has been planted in the hearts of people. I've come to water the seed of hope in your heart today. I also do some planting, like Jesus said. Jesus did some planting. He said, I plant. He said, Apollos waters. But guess what, Pastor Ron and everybody else? We cannot give the increase. It's God that does that. No matter how much we say or how much we do, it is God that works in all of us to will and to do of his good pleasure. It is our job to love folks. It is our job to bring folks to a place of hope. It is our job to bring folks to a place of courage and understanding. It is our job, Hope of Glory and friends that are visiting, to love folks through whatever, to love folks no matter what. It is our job. Just like the minister said, the Father has some children. They're not always the good ones. You know, if I think about my group of sisters, they're always the one. They tell me that I'm the scary sister in the bunch. Because every time they want to do something that's contrary to what I think is right, I'm trying to go tell it. Or I'm saying, let me back up here. I'll just be the lookout. Not really, you know. And so, not that they're bad in the eyes, not that they're doing bad things. You know what I'm saying? But there's just some of us. There's just some of us. But I am not going to be before you long. I am not, because I'm going to do what I do. I'm here to encourage your heart. I don't, just like DJ said last week, I don't have 3 steps. I'm not going to tell you to turn around and squat 3 times and do this. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hope. I'm going to do what I do. And I am going to sprinkle some life into your garden. I am going to sprinkle some of the word into your garden so that from this point on, you will leave here having a little bit of hope. Because that's what we're talking about. Our theme for the month is share hope. It's not ironic that our name is Hope of Glory Christian Centers. It's not ironic. But in the month of June, 36 years ago, in 1990 to be exact, right, Pastor Ron? 1990, the pathway to a better life for some of us was constructed. We broke ground, Pastor Ron, we did. 36 years ago, the doors of the church were open. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about Matthew 16. Jesus said to Peter, he said, upon this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. Now, that's a whole message in and of itself, right? But I begin to think about that. There's nothing that comes our way that will prevail against what God has already ordained. There is nothing, no gate, no hell, no nothing that will come against us, because the church is built upon a solid foundation. Now, I can look at the church 2 ways. The church, we began to gather in El Segundo, California, off of El Segundo and Sepulveda. It was at Manhattan Beach, El Segundo, at the Hacienda Hotel. I remember it was, 7 of us? 8 of us. Pastor Ron in tow with that piano. He was in tow. He had that piano. He had everything. He was the pastor, the musician, the the announcing clerk. He was all of that. He was everything. But there was a message. There was something that was birthed in him, that something that was birthed in him that day. I'm not saying it was born. The ministry wasn't born that day. It was birthed that day. And I was right behind him following it, me and a few others. We would say, okay, where you go, I go. Where you tried, I tried. We were all going with him because we trusted that there was something on the inside of him. There was a word from the Lord that God had given him. We trusted him 36 years ago. And let me tell you today, some of us still trust him now. We trust him now. So guess what, y'all? It doesn't matter what we see. It doesn't matter what we feel. We are Hope of Glory Christian Center. The expectation, we are the expectation, right? Hope means expectation of a better life, of glory, of splendor, of majesty. Our name is not just that for no reason. So there is something we have to expect. So let me get on. We cut the ribbon 36 years ago. We cut it. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony, not necessarily, but not only was the church building erected or the brick and mortar was established, but the church was established in some of us. We begin to know that we are the living, breathing organism of Jesus Christ in the earth. We begin to learn that when it came to this ministry. My message to all of you today is about hope. Brother Jamel, I saw a post on Facebook that you did the other day, and your post said, feeling hopeful. And I have come to realize there's many of us in the church, out of the church, in the world, that experience some point in time in our lives a sense of hopelessness. Without hope. We don't know what the end is going to be. We don't know how to get to that end or that expected end. We just don't know. There comes a time in our lives that happens. You know, in light of everything that's been going on, I think we've all mentioned it. You know, the shootings, the killings. You know, people. You know, these people are saying they're doing it for the sake of the cause of the gospel or the cause of Christ. Researchers are talking about this. What's happening with some of these people is deep down on the inside of some of these folks, there's a sense of hopelessness. Somewhere, somehow, they don't understand how to get through life on their own, how to go this journey on their own, so they attach themselves to something that they think and believe will give them hope. And then in the end, they say, I will be martyred for it, or I'll kill for it, which is not the God we know. So hopelessness happens, right? Hopelessness can happen to anybody, all of us. If I ask for a show of hands, which I'm not, I've been there. I've been in a state where I just didn't think tomorrow was going to ever get here. I was in a state where I thought the morning was not going to come. Because in the Bible says the joy comes in the morning. It's like, okay, when is morning? I go to sleep, I wake up, it's morning. But I'm still dark. I go to sleep, I wake up, and I'm still hurt. I go to sleep, and I wake up, and it's still affecting. God, when is morning going to come? I was talking to God about this, and I was talking to nephew DJ. I said, you know what, I started working on my message before you, because I don't want to seem like I'm plagiarizing what you say. But he said, it's all right, Auntie, you can do, you can. But it's ironic. I mean, he said some profound things. Was his message awesome last week, y'all? Awesome. He said, for us as a ministry, we're required to share hope. And he also said, hope requires dedication beyond what you can see. I'm here to tell you a little bit more about that. I'm going to branch off from that. Let me just say what hope is first. Hope is the feeling that what is wanted can be had, or that the events in your life will turn out the way you expect, for the best. That's one definition. Another one is to look forward to look forward to something with desire and reasonable confidence. Right. What I've learned, Pastor Ron taught on this too. I don't know if we got it, Pastor Ron. I mean, it's taken me 36 years to understand some of this stuff. But it's the journey. It's okay. It can take us 36 years. Some things I just don't understand. It took me forever to learn Christ in you, the hope of glory. Come on, Lord, help me get this. But I stayed, and I kept getting the word. I kept coming so I could keep hearing, and I kept keep hearing and keep hearing. Okay, Cheryl, I'm there. It's up in this place. But anyway, let me say this. In light of all the things that have been happening, I want to look at hope a little bit differently. What I've learned. Sometimes I've struggled with myself when it comes to believing God. It's like, Lord, I didn't have faith to get that done. I didn't believe you. How did that get beyond me? You know, I can believe God for healing, because healing, I'm not going to say I've mastered it, but I know how to believe God for healing. It's happened to me, miraculously, and then I've had to walk the steps of healing. I know how to get through that. But when it's come through other things, I haven't been able. It's like, Lord, I don't have the faith for that. You said faith can move mountains. It's like the mountains in my life are supposed to move if I be moved, if I can speak to them, if I can believe in my heart. But that mountain, God, doesn't seem to be going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. It's still here. 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Lord, I don't have so now I'm thinking I don't have the faith to believe God for a certain thing. So now I look at Hebrews 11:1 and I meditate, right? I said, okay, what does it say? Somebody turn to Hebrews 1 for me. Faith, can somebody read it for me out loud? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And Minister DJ talked about that in detail. I'm not here to talk about faith. I'm here to talk about hope. Faith, this is what I figured out, or what I was thinking about. It's like, faith ain't no good if you ain't got no hope. If I'm not hoping for nothing, faith has nothing to work on. Faith can't do anything without hope. Hope is an expected end. What is that? Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace, not of evil, but to give you a future and a hope, or an expected end. What I've come to think about, it's like, okay, Lord, faith, I'm focused on faith. I'm focused on faith. He said, but Karen, if you don't hope, if you don't expect that at the end of this process, you're going to have what you say you want, then your faith has nothing to work on. Okay, all right, Lord, okay. And I was like, okay. He said, you got to set the expectation. Hope means expectation. It says expectation, you got to set it. Jesus, I'm going to go to a familiar passage. I think it's Mark 4. In Mark 4, Jesus told us this how he had been teaching all day. He said, we got to go to the other side. I'm tired. He had been teaching. He said, let's go to the other side. Now, he was going to the other side, and then when he got on the other side, that's when the miracles started happening. He started performing miracles. But Jesus said to his disciples, let's get in the boat, and we going to the other side. Okay. Jesus went on to sleep. He set the expectation. I'm going, there's an expected end. I'm going to the other side. I'm going there. I'm going. And the disciples went to sleep, right? And the storm started raging. Now, Jesus, initially, he had been teaching. He had been teaching them, telling them parable. He had been telling them all about himself. And then they get in the boat, and he says, we're going to the other side. I could say, oh, I hope we get to the other side. That's setting an expectation, but that hope has to be so much deeper. It has to be an expectation. When you say hope, it just can't be a loosely used term. It has to set the expectation. Jesus just said, we're going. And what we're doing, there is an expected end. I'm going to get to the other side of this thing. Disciples were in a panic, right? So they were in a panic. They woke Jesus up, and he's like, oh, y'all tripping. What's wrong? He said, I said, we're going to the other side. So there's an expected end to this thing. There's an expected end. So people in this room, if there is something in your life that you want or you're desiring, you have to see the expected end. You have to have, there's something called hope on the inside of you that says, it's just not just wishful thinking. I've got to see it. I've got to see myself. I don't care if you go by plane, train, boat, if you got to swim to get there, because hope is all about, it's about the journey. It's about getting through to the other side. So you guys, it's about going through. And this is what I figured out. Let me look at my notes so I can say this exactly right. Faith, what did I say? Faith, hope. Here we go. I'm going to blame it on my thyroid issue. No. Okay, here we go. Okay. This is what I discovered. This is what I came up with. Hope will get you through it. Faith brings you to it, because faith is the substance of it. Hope gets you through it. Hope gets you through that thing, because you're saying on the other end of it, on the other side, I got to get there. There's something on the other side I want to get to. So hope says, I got to get there. Your faith, which is the substance of that hope, will get you to that. Now, how do we get faith? Faith comes by hearing by the word. When people don't come to church and the church is empty, and then they call you because things are happening in their life and their life is all shook up, they don't have no hope because they ain't got no word, because they ain't heard no word. There's no faith. There's no faith to ignite the hope, to give substance to the hope, right? There's no faith, because the faith you hear when you come to hear, there is no faith, which gives substance to the hope, the thing that you want God to do, right? So therefore, then they call and say, it just ain't working out for me. It just ain't working. But you got to come here so you can build your faith, so that you can get the substance to ignite the hope that you're expecting, the thing that you're expecting on the other end. So as I was contemplating and talking to God, I was spinning around and doing circles. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's good. We don't negate faith, but now I know hope, there's an expected end to that thing. One of my favorite movies of all times is Shawshank Redemption. Anyone see it? Yeah. One of my favorite movies. Andy Dufresne. If anybody know anything about the movie. And I'm going to tell you this taught me years ago about hope. And as soon as I said I was going to speak on this, God reminded me. He says, that was an example of hope that my people don't yet get. And I was like, okay, all right, help me with it, Lord. The gist of the movie is that there was a man that was convicted. Here we go, words. There was a man that was convicted of killing his wife. And this was back in 1947. So the prison system was horrendous, horrific. And so he was convicted of murdering his wife. And he was an innocent man. He actually did not murder his wife. So he was convicted and he was sent to prison. And this prison was Shawshank Prison, which was one of the worst. It was worse than, one of the worst prisons at the time that ever existed. And so he was sentenced to prison. And so Andy Dufresne, I don't know his name and his real name, but that was the main character. This is the guy that was sentenced. But his best friend was a guy named Red, which was Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman told him, he says, you're in this place, Andy. He says, we're all, and Andy said, I'm innocent. And he said, well, everybody in here is innocent. And so he said, and so they were talking, and so Andy said, they can imprison me physically, but there's something they cannot touch. There's something that they cannot touch. And Red, who was Morgan Freeman, said, and what would that be, Andy? He said, it's hope. He said, hope is a good thing. He said, in his mind, he knew that he wasn't supposed to be in that place. How many of you know that there's a place in your life and you know you're not supposed to be there? And what he decided was, I'm not supposed to be here, but I have to expect to be in a different place. And so he said, hope is a good thing. And Red didn't understand. He was like, well, your hope, he went, because we don't have naysayers around us. You can keep believing. But and so he said, well, all right, keep hoping. But as the movie went on, Andy asked Red, he said, because Red could get anything, snuck into the prison. So he said, can you get me a little pitchfork? And the pitchfork was probably about maybe 4 inches high, and it just had a rock hammer. It was a rock hammer, okay? And it was about 4 inches high, real little. But the gist of, and so Red said, well, what you need for it? He said, just get it for me. And then he asked for a picture of Marilyn Monroe. So he took the picture of Marilyn Monroe and put it on his wall in his cell. Now, in prison, Andy had been raped. He had been sodomized. He had been treated, mistreated, but yet still in the prison. The prison guard, the prison warden liked him, so he began to do the taxes for everybody. So he was liked and disliked. So there were good things and bad things that was happening in his life at the time. Yeah, at the same time. But let me get to the end of the story. He said, hope is a good thing. And what ended up happening was that little rock hammer that Red had given Andy, he began to pick away at the wall in his cell, rock by rock, pick by pick. I mean, he just began this 4-inch pick hammer. And after 19 years of picking at that wall, after 19 years, he had built a hole or created a hole that 8 people could fit through, and a tunnel that was so wide that it took him to the outside of the prison. So in his mind, he says, I have an expected end. My hope says I'm not supposed to be here. My hope says I'm supposed to be somewhere else. My hope says I'm supposed to be free. My hope says I'm supposed to be whole. My hope says I'm supposed to be healed. And so he said, whatever it takes for me to get, and what his hope did, it sustained him through the journey. It's not that he had faith to get there. It's not that he had the faith to do it, but his hope, his expectation on the other side is what helped him to get to the place where he knew he was supposed to be. So it's the hope. Hope is a good thing, folks. Hope is a very good thing, and faith is the substance of that hope. But you've got to know that there's something on the other side of this thing. You have to know that. But that was one of my favorite movies, and God told me, he said, that is the prime example of hope, primary example of hope. As I said before, number 2, if you don't have hope, faith has nothing to do, doesn't have a job. Another thing about hope, hope requires remembering. Don't take me here, Lord. Jesus. Here we go. Try to maintain myself. Hope requires remembering. And I'm going to use you, Minister Jamel. Hope requires that you remember what God did. Well, you did exactly what the scripture says. Lamentations 21, is that what it is? Is that where I am? Lamentations 3:21. This I recall to my mind. Therefore, I have hope. I recall it. And that word recall means I turn back. So all the negative stuff that I'm thinking, all the bad things that I'm thinking that's going on in my life right now, I turn from that. And it says I retreat from those bad thoughts. And then it says rejoice. I retreat and I rejoice. So at that point, it says, this I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope. I recall the good. I retreat. I remember the good stuff. I remember, God, what you did before. I remember that you saved me before. I remember that you brought me peace before. I remember all of that. It requires, hope requires that you rejoice. Hope requires that you praise. Hope requires that you worship. It requires that. It says, because if you don't recall, this is how I take it. How can my hope be sustained if I don't recall what God has done for me in my life? That's how I get through things in my life. As I recall, I have to remember God. And even if he didn't do it for me, I see people that he's done it for. And so therefore I say, you did it for Londa. Do it for me. And I thank you for doing it for Londa. Do it for me. I thank you for doing it for Tony. Do it for me. And so that's what that brings hope into your life. Hope is a good thing. Hope is something that we must have. It's the expectation. It's the expectation to get where you need to get, where you want to get. If you have no expectation, it's possible that your faith is not working because of it. It's very possible. But we know faith, because faith is a substance. Anybody heard, I'm going to be done in just a minute. Anybody heard of something called a placebo? Mm-hmm. Anybody tell me what that might be? What is that? It's a sugar pill. And I was looking at that. And in medicine, it says, and I'm sure in your profession, hope. In medicine, studies have shown that when people have a hope or an expectation, hope has the ability to help people heal. Without any medication. So what doctors have done in the past, even though they're trying to deem that as unethical, it's not honest, they've given patients these sugar pills that say, take this 3 times a day, and in a month, you'll feel better. And miraculously, in a month, they feel better. And the only variable in that equation was hope. It was because that pill gave them hope. That pill itself gave them hope. Psychologists say that hope is a strong psychological benefit. You change your thinking, you change your life. You think about, you change what your end is going to be. We were having some conversations the other day. It's like, why do you feel sometimes you're right here at the edge and you're right here, you're going to be successful, you're right, ready to step into that place. But for whatever reason, you can't get there. What does it say at the other end? I know for me, I feel like I'm right here many times. But then I say, I can't get there. I don't know if I could do that. My expectation of getting there is tainted. What about if I say, I'm there. I see myself there. I see myself in that place. I see myself next to somebody that's just as good as I am. I see myself there. And then I walk and work accordingly. It's like, then I do what I have to do to get there. I'm like Andy, I have to chip away at every little thing that gets in my way, every rock, every stone, every pebble, everything that's in the way that's going to keep me from getting to that end. If I have to chip away at it bit by bit by bit, and I chip away at it because I recall the goodness of God, and I recall the ability that he's given me, and I recall the greatness in me. I recall Christ in me that helps me or causes me to walk according to how he has designed or destined for me to walk. I recall those things, but I have to see the end. I have to have an expected end. So medicine has said that hope is really, really a good thing. And just like I said, that placebo that they give patients, it does nothing but convinces the people that in a month you're going to feel better. Hope of glory, that's what we have to do. We have to be able to tell people, maybe not in a month, but if you keep coming and you keep hearing the word, you're going to feel better. That's what we got to tell folks. So they'll come back and they'll hear the word, and then their faith can be built. You might not feel better in 6 months. It might take a year. It might be tomorrow. But it's going to get better because there's something. Because what we do is we share hope. We deliver hope. We're hope bringers. We're hope bearers. We're light bearers. And the big thing that brings hope to people is we are teaching people to recognize that there's something greater on the inside of them than themselves. It's Christ that lives on the inside of you. The expectation of excellence, that there's Christ on the inside of you that will cause you to get to that expected end. And that's our message to the world, Hope of Glory. It's like there's something greater on the inside of you. The other day I had a message of exhortation I didn't even share. You know how God gets me all the time. And all he simply said was, you have to recognize every day that there's a power on the inside of you that's greater than any power in heaven and in earth. Until my people recognize that, they will continue to struggle. They will continue to succumb to those things that seem to take them over. On the day of Pentecost, Pastor Ron taught off that thing at the revival. I wanted to run around that church, but I had flip-flops on, and I didn't want people to see me looking like I was looking. I was looking a little, But he taught about the purpose of the Holy Spirit, the purpose of the Holy Ghost. He taught about, it's not for us to dance and shout, but we do that too. That's not the purpose. But it's for the purpose, because we have to be witnesses. We have to tell people about the love of Christ, the love of God. And when the Holy Ghost came on the day of Pentecost, it endued them with power. And God said to me, there is a power in you that's greater than any power. You think sickness is powerful. You think being broke is powerful. You think that being down and depressed is powerful. There is a power that I've given you on the inside of you that is so much more greater than every power outside of yourself. He said, I didn't plant that outside of you. I hid it in you. And I'm telling you, I hid it in you. So now what you have to know and what you have to understand is that it's in you. It's no longer hidden. It's now revealed to me. Because now I know that there is a power in me. We used to say, I used to hear my parents say, my hands look new and my feet look new, and my feet do too. No! Yeah, it does. But because there's a power working on the inside of me that makes my feet look new. Yeah, I see things differently. I hear things differently. I love people differently. I do all of these things differently. And there is a power on the inside of you that will make you say, okay, God, you, it's you. Whatever, it's you. There is that thing. It's that drawing. It's something. And sometimes when we don't want to be drawn, we're drawn anyway. But the graciousness of God, the love of God, the compassion of God says, okay, daughter, it's all right. I still got you. You went over there and you did that, but I still got you. And he continuously, lovingly draws us. And then he always reminds me, listen, I'm in there. I'm talking. You stop talking so loud, because I do, and so much. and listen. So Hope of Glory, we've got to tell people that there is a hope. There's a hope, number one, that resides on the inside of us. And we have to share hope with people that says it's going to be a better day. Things do get better. Things do change. This too shall pass. That is our task. That is our task to continue to tell people that it will pass. Things will get better. We will. But then we have to tell them, and when you start seeing things get better, you got to come on in here and hear the word, because your faith has to then be. You've got it. That substance. Faith is the substance of the things that you hope for. It's like you could be hoping for something and see the end. But if your faith isn't at the place of this, if you're not getting the substance that you need to make it happen, then guess what? How do you get that substance? Faith is the substance of it. How do you get faith? You've got to hear the word. So you got to come in and hear the word. You've got to come in and hear the word. So I encourage you today. Share hope. That's what we're destined to do. Everybody in this room, not just Hope of Glory Christian Center. We are designed, and we have been called by God to tell the world that he is loving, that things can be better, that it's not as bad as it seems. It'll be all right tomorrow. It'll be okay in the morning. What is the man's name? I can't think of singers. No, not Marvin Winans, but that other song. Though the storms keep on raging into my life. And sometimes it's hard to tell the night from day. There's a hope that lies within that reassures me. Yes. Okay, what's the rest of the words? Keep upon the distant shore. Yes, I know he'll lead me safely to the blessed place he has. Here it is, though, if the storms don't cease. And just in case, the winds keep blowing, my soul has been anchored in the Lord. My soul. So anchor yourself. My soul. Believe God. Believe God. Yes, God. Yes, God. Yes, God. So I'm here to tell you, I leave you with this. We are a hopeful people, spreading hope, watering the gardens of people who have no hope. Because people are hopeless. There are people in the church. There are people in your family that seem like there's no hope. And it's up to us to tell them it's going to be all right. That there is a God of hope that we serve. But besides, doing this, just show them who that God is. Show them what he does. Tell them, show them with your life. Every time I get a chance, I talk about how I got healed. Because I want people, because that gives hope in other folks. Tell them how God delivered you. Tell them how God got you through school. Tell them how God, in my mind, to get 2 masters, that's to me. But just like you said, God has called us all to a place. God has authentically chosen us to be authentically us. And I'm grateful. So with that said, Hope of Glory and friends and family, let's go out and share hope. My draw.
Ooh, my. Somebody ought to celebrate hope. Somebody ought to celebrate hope.